Welcome back to my channel. My name is Riley, and today we are going to discuss the 3 life lessons that I learned from binge playing a ton of Skyrim as a kid. The thing is, the Elder Scrolls games like Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim were definitely some of my favorite games growing up. I sunk a substantial amount of time into them. The reason I loved those type of games was because those kind of RPG games, right? They had awesome storyline, and there were so many different ways to play that they were just super addicting, super enjoyable, and I tended to spend a lot of time as a kid playing them. And more specifically, I really loved the Elder Scrolls games, and they all had great gameplay, great storyline, and you could just play the game in so many different ways that it really doesn't get boring. It has now, obviously, after I've sunk like a couple hundred, if not 1,000 hours into those games. With that being said, though, my favorite of the 3 was Skyrim, and maybe it's because it had better graphics or something, I'm not sure, but I definitely went deep in that game. So a couple things is, upon reflecting on the time I spent playing those games, I always felt like playing games as a kid was a waste of time, but come to find out, it actually was some of the best time I could have spent because it taught me a lot of valuable lessons. And so I'm going to break those down for you today. But with that being said, before we jump into today's lesson, if you played Skyrim, you're going to resonate with this one. Got a question for you. So, you wish to master the arcane arts? Freaking Farengar. Anyways, with that being said, growing up, video games for me were not only an escape, a way to kill some time and kind of like soothe my kid brain, but they were a great hobby as well. And I come to find out later that they were also a classroom. Okay. So the thing is that my young mind really loved the feeling of making progress in those games, the way that you could learn so many different ways of playing the games. They had different mechanics and different play styles and different things like that. And I want to say that nowadays, that's why my current mind is so addicted with doing the same thing in real life, making progress, learning how to play. Looking back, playing video games as a kid was actually not a waste of time. It actually really set me up to be successful as an adult. And we can talk about that another time, maybe in another video or something. But for now, let's go deep into the 3 lessons that I learned from Skyrim. So the first life lesson I learned from Skyrim is that the character and play style that you choose or that we choose can make or break our experience in the game. Okay, so when you're playing a game like Skyrim, part of the strategy is you're kind of creating and developing your character in a game along with how you play the game, your play style, right? Life, as I've come to learn, is really no different because everyone is playing a character. Everyone is testing a certain play style. And depending on what we choose in either one of those categories, that's going to determine whether we're going to feel like we're winning the game or we're going to be losing the game in life. And I like to think of it this way. What I've come to learn is that the character we play is our identity. It's this like self-image or mental picture we have of ourselves that we act out in the real world, kind of like an avatar in a video game. The play style that you and I use is the life strategy that we implement to make progress and to adventure through this open world game of life, okay? And what I've come to learn in my experience is that if we can learn to upgrade our characters and we can learn better play style from other people, the game gets way more enjoyable and we will definitely win more often. So that's the first life lesson, that the character that we play, meaning like the persona we take on in this life and the way we choose to play the game through our play style, in other words, our life strategy, that's going to make or break our experience in the game. Are we going to be winning? Are we going to be losing? Will we enjoy playing it, or will life suck? Second life lesson that I learned from playing Skyrim is that building skills helps us to more easily and strategically win the game. So in video games, there's these things called skill trees, if you're not familiar. And those skill trees, they kind of hold a sense of progression for your character to get new abilities and new perks. And what I've learned is that life has a similar system. There's something I learned from another mentor of mine, Dan Coe. He talks about these 4 eternal markets. He's a marketing guy, but let's put it in this way. If we could put life into 4 buckets, right, our general goals and problems and different things, I would agree with Dan that they fall into health, wealth, relationships, and happiness, right? And each one of those almost acts like a skill tree. And just like in a game where there are skill trees that make up our character's abilities and also the perks we get, life has a similar system within these 4 buckets. So each one of those buckets, your health, your wealth, your relationships, your happiness, they have a sense of progression to them. And they also have unique perks and skills that come with each of those categories. So for example, there are some people in this world that will max out their wealth skill tree, but they underdevelop or underlevel the other ones. So they end up miserable because they're like, look, I got all this money, but like, I don't know how to be happy. My kids hate me and I'm in shitty health. I'm super fat, or like lost a bunch of weight and I'm like cracked out or something, right? So the thing is that it's important to remember that you and we can develop those skills and inside those skill trees along the way, right? And we can do it in a way that complements each other. It doesn't have to be one-sided, because just like in a video game, if you want to kick ass and you want to get to the end game, you want to play all the good content, you know, experience the storyline, get all the cool perks and gear and stuff, you've got to be strategic in how you play. That not only includes the first lesson I talked about, you know, your character and your play style, but it also includes your skills, right? Your skill tree, the way you're developing your character's abilities really in this real world game of life. And so with that being said, I want to jump to the third and final lesson, and that is be the hero of the story, not the NPC. So I have this belief that in today's day and age, there are a lot of NPCs. For those of you who don't know, an NPC in a video game is what's called a non-playable character or a non-player character, meaning they're basically the side characters and they have a function in the world, but they aren't the main character or really the hero of the story, okay? And the thing is that most people are an NPC in their own life. They kind of just go through the motions, acting like a side character, and they let other people or the game world determine how they play the game. They kind of fall in line with the rules of the game, so to speak, and they just fulfill a purpose, but they don't really have this big story or anything spectacular about them. And so let me just ask you a question. Would you rather be an NPC in the game, especially in your game of life, or would you rather be the hero of the story, right? I learned that everyone can be the hero of their own story, but to do so, you've got to learn how to play the game and figure out why you're even in it in the first place, right? You got to figure out, why am I here playing this game? Like, of all times and places I could be alive, why does Riley exist? And how do I play this game, right? How do I kick some ass in this game? It's my belief that we all have our own hero's journey that we're on. And we all have a unique purpose. We also have an ability in this world to feel like a badass as we go through this game of life, because we can find meaning, we can find mastery over certain things within this world that allow us to play the game to the highest level, develop our character. This one-time run I have of being Riley, or you as being whoever, you can max out that character and play the end game content, get all the cool gear, you know, have a kick-ass story to tell when it's all said and done, rather than just being a side character, going through the motions and getting to your deathbed and being like, fuck, I had one life and I wasted that shit because I was too scared of what other people thought, or I was too afraid to put myself out there, or whatever excuse people make. The top regrets of the dying is like, they didn't live life for themselves. And I feel like being the hero of our story is us taking the reins for our own life and being like, look, I'm going to be that badass dude that's playing this game of life to my fullest, or badass girl if you're a woman watching, and I'm going to kick life's ass. I'm going to develop my character and I'm going to beat this game. And so the thing is, we don't have to be the hero. We can always ignore it and settle for being an NPC that just sits on the sidelines. And although they serve a function, like I say, they're not living out their personal legend or doing anything really substantial. So with all that being said, guys, I'm curious what you've learned from games like Skyrim. If you're a gamer, I would love to hear that in the comments down below. I'm going to make some other videos in this series of what I learned from certain games. Played a lot of video games as a kid. And if you are looking to play this game of life a little bit better, maybe win, maybe develop your character, build some skills within the skill trees of life, I've got some awesome resources down below for you guys. I've got some resources to help you get organized, like Notion, a couple different templates to help you start to implement some good strategies in your play style for the game of life. And I've also got some ways I can support you one-on-one or in different settings, so I can help you to learn how to level up for yourself. We'll be releasing more videos and different things like that coming soon. So yeah, check out the free resources like the Notion template or whatever else I got down below. And let me know in the comments down below what lessons you've also learned from video games such as Skyrim when you played growing up, or maybe you're playing right now. And until next time, guys, I will see you in the next video. Peace.